Hey guys, welcome to Algebra 1B. Today we're going to be looking at problem set 101, which is dealing with factorable denominators. You hear that term denominator, you think fractions, and factorable, we're going to be doing some factoring like we've been doing, but we're going to put it all together in these messy fraction problems. You can see this example here. We're going to be adding and subtracting some fractions together, and our denominators are going to have some addition or subtraction in them. So to be able to add or subtract these fractions together, we have to have that common denominator. But when there's addition and subtraction in there, it gets a little bit messy because we have to make sure these denominators are first factored. So anytime you have addition or subtraction within a fraction, first thing you should do is group them together in parentheses. Okay, now we're going to look at this first fraction, 5 over c plus 3. The first thing I need to do is see if c plus 3 can break down any further. C plus 3, it's not c squared, and there's no common factor there. So c plus 3, I can't do anything else to that. So that fraction is going to stay just like it is. It's important, though, that that c plus 3 is in parentheses. Okay, then we move over here to the second fraction, c squared minus 9. When you see that squared term and you have subtraction, you should think, okay, this is going to factor. Okay, and on this one we only have two terms, so I think we just did a worksheet on this just the other day, and we've done a lot of problems factoring these things with c squared minus a number. When you see just two terms in subtraction, you should think difference of perfect squares. So I'm going to try to split up c squared minus 9 into two groups. So c squared, to get c squared, I take c times c. How about the 9? What number times itself gives us 9? Well, we should all know that's 3 and 3. And then you need to remember this is a special factoring pattern. C squared minus 9 is going to factor to c plus 3 and c minus 3. Okay, so now our denominators have been factored. Our next step is we need to get a common denominator. Well, over here I have a c plus 3. On this one I have a c plus 3 and a c minus 3. For my common denominator, I need the highest power of each factor, or in this case, each group. So that means I need a c plus 3, and I need a c minus 3 for my denominator. All right, so I go to the first fraction, 5 over c plus 3. I needed to have a c plus 3 and a c minus 3. So the missing part is c minus 3. So I'm going to multiply c minus 3 to both the top and the bottom. The most important thing, though, is weight to distribute. So I'm going to leave that as 5 times c minus 3. Plus, now in the second fraction, is it missing anything? I have a c plus 3 and I have a c minus 3. That's what I need for my common denominator. So this 5 is just going to stay 5. All right? Our next step, our last couple of steps, is we need to simplify that numerator. And by simplifying means we need to go ahead and distribute, and then we'll look to see if we have some like terms. So if I distribute 5 to c minus 3, I get 5c minus 15, and then I still have plus 5. All of that is still over c plus 3 times c minus 3. Now in these problems, I'm not worried about you multiplying out the denominator, only the numerators, because then we'll just look for like terms on top. So here on the top to finish up, I do have a couple of like terms, negative 15 or minus 15 plus 5. So I put that all together. I have 5c minus 10 over c plus 3 times c minus 3. That's as far as we can go. We cannot do any canceling. I don't need to worry about the denominator. This is my final answer. Okay, now with this video, this is just our first example. If you got confused, if you got lost, if there's any questions that you have, pause the video, go back, watch it again. Start over, watch it over and over, and see if you can answer have your questions answered by watching them over and over. Watch it again while you're trying to do your own problem out of the lesson. But use this video as a resource. Okay? We're going to do another problem. Might be a little bit more complicated, so let's look to see what this one has for us. Okay, we start off the same way. First thing we did is down here on the denominator, I'm going to put those guys in parentheses, just so they're locked together. All right? Now I need to go through and I'm going to factor these denominators. X squared minus x minus 30. First step, do they have anything in common? Because sometimes they will. This one doesn't. X squared, x, and 30. There's no common factor there. But x squared minus x minus 30, I believe that will split into the two groups. So remember, you got 4 blanks to fill in. To get x squared, I have x times x. Hopefully we're getting a lot better at these problems and they're not as challenging. Okay? The next thing I would look at is the signs. The last term is negative. That tells me down here on these two groups, I need one positive, one negative. So a plus and a minus. Okay? Then the two numbers are going to multiply to be 30, but they're opposite signs, so they're going to subtract to be 1. If you go through your little list of the possible numbers to multiply to be 30, subtract to be 1, you should come across 6 times 5. Those two multiply to be 30, and they subtract to be 1. I need this to end up a negative 1, so to make sure that happens, the bigger number needs to be negative. So the 6 goes in the negative spot, or the minus spot, and 5 in the positive. Okay, so that's our first fraction. Second fraction, I have 9x on top. On the bottom, x plus 5. Can I do any factoring to that? Look for a common factor. These guys don't have anything in common, so there's nothing I can do there. It's not an x squared, so I really can't do anything to that. So that's going to stay x plus 5. All right, from here, we're looking at these two fractions, trying to add them together. Same thing. I need a common denominator. I look at these groups. I need the highest power of each group. Well, when I see these, I see an x plus 5 and an x minus 6. So that's going to be my common denominator. All right, I look at the first fraction. X plus 5 over x plus 5 times x minus 6. That's what I need for my denominator. So I don't need to change that first fraction. That's going to stay negative 6x. Plus, in the second fraction, I have x plus 5, but I need x plus 5 and x minus 6. So that second fraction, I'm going to multiply by an x minus 6. Now, one of the most important things is always wait to distribute on this problem, on the numerator. So I'm going to write that as 9x times x minus 6. Always wait to distribute, especially when this sign happens to be a minus sign, because that minus gets distributed as well. Okay, from here, we need to go ahead and distribute, and we will look for like terms. So I'm going to have negative 6x. When I distribute 9x, that gives me plus 9x squared minus 54x. All over that denominator. Again, don't worry about distributing or multiplying the denominators. That's not going to help you out any. Okay, on top we do have a couple of like terms that we need to put together. So I'm going to rewrite this in order. That's 9x squared. Negative 6x and negative 54x is negative 60x, all over that stuff. X plus 5 times x minus 6. That is your final answer. Okay? Again, rewatch the video. If you have questions, watch it again. Hopefully the factoring is not an issue anymore. Hopefully that's getting much easier for you. With all the practice that we've done, but watch it again and again and again. Okay? That's all I got. Good luck.